interactive narrative functions as both a master evidentiary buffer and a high-level civics lesson. It is designed to expose the gap between the filtered data fed to an AI by the cheeky monkey contingent and the unfiltered reality of the legal record. If one is to argue constitutional law and federal procedure, one must first possess a foundational understanding of the social contract and the Bill of Rights. To argue from a position of filtered ignorance is not just a failure of litigation, it is a failure of basic civic literacy. The Autopsy of an Amateur, Exposing the Cheeky Monkey Legal Myth. A 2,500-word master waypoint in civics instruction. The foundation. What is a record? In any high school civics or government class, the first lesson is that the United States is a nation of laws, not of men. In a courtroom, the only thing that exists is the record. The primary deception cheeky monkey utilized when prompting an AI was the omission of the evidence. An AI is a mirror. If you feed it a filtered narrative that excludes the defendant's own recorded confessions, it will naturally produce a result that favors the filter. However, in a federal civil RICO or Section 1983 action, the court does not look at a summary, it looks at the original source material. What was omitted from the AI? The AI was told that the lawsuits were dismissed for failure to state a claim. It was not told that the record includes affidavits number 1 through number 10, which contains specific, admissible evidence of armed menacing, housing extortion, and coordinated stalking. When an amateur argues, Rule 8 inches, pleading standards, without mentioning the V1 timestamps, they are performing a legal magic trick that fails the moment the actual file is opened. Civics lesson, the 14th Amendment versus Code enforcement. The cheeky monkey, AI, argued that your displacement was merely lawful code enforcement. This is a profound misunderstanding of the Due Process Clause. The civics reality. The 14th Amendment dictates that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The amateur argument. There were code violations, so the county can make you leave. The federal reality. Even if a structure is in violation of a building code, a building and code compliance coordinator, like Chad Gray, does not have the authority to bulldoze a building or bypass the judicial eviction process through third-party extortion. The record, Affidavit Number 1 and Exhibit 5A. Chad Gray did not go to court to prove a violation. He went to the landlords and issued extrajudicial threats to have properties destroyed. In civics terms, this is called color of law abuse. By using his official position to coerce a private landlord into doing what the law would not allow the government to do directly, Gray committed a constitutional tort. The AI was never told about the bulldozing threats, it was only told about garages and permits. 3. The anatomy of surveillance. Beyond watching videos. The amateur narrative claims that watching public content isn't surveillance. This is a high school level misunderstanding of criminal stalking, CRS Section the 18th of March 602, and conspiracy, 42 U.S.C. Section 1985. The civics reality. Surveillance is not defined by the medium, YouTube, it is defined by the intent and result. The filtered version. People are just watching videos of a public figure. The unfiltered record, Affidavit Number 7, on February 27, 2025, David Archbell and Robert Thayer conducted a drive-by of your private residence. They were not watching a video, they were creating the target. They broadcasted the address and instructed a live audience to get eyes on the property. The legal consequence. In a RICO, harmonized enterprise, this is called target acquisition. When a group coordinates to identify a victim's private location for the purpose of mobilization, it ceases to be viewing content and becomes a predicate act of stalking. The AI was not told that the defendants were using their platform to incite a mob to visit your neighbors, it was only told that people comment on videos. The self-deposing truth. Statements against interest. The cheeky monkey, AI, called the idea of self-deposing a fantasy. This reveals a total lack of understanding of the federal rules of evidence, free. The civics reality. Under Free 801, d. 2. Any statement made by a party opponent that is offered against them is not hearsay. The amateur argument. Social media comments aren't legal admissions. The legal reality. If a defendant posts, "I was hired to harass Rex, V1000," or if a third-tier collaborator like Cheeky Monkey posts, "I have the defense's videos," those are statements against interest. They are admissible evidence of a conspiracy. The AI's error. The AI assumed these statements were isolated internet comments. It was not told that these comments linked directly to the armed confrontations documented in affidavits number 2, number 3, and number 4. When a troll brags about having the defense's evidence, they are documenting the collusion required to prove an enterprise under RICO. Versus the courthouse stakeout, service of process versus chasing. The AI was fed a narrative that you chased Robert Thayer to a police station. This is a deliberate inversion of the October 20, 2025 record. The civics reality. In the American legal system, a petitioner has a right to service. If a court reissues a TRO because a defendant is evading service, the act of attempting to hand those papers to the defendant is a protected, lawful act. The filtered version. Rex chased Thayer through the streets. The unfiltered record, affidavit number 9. Thayer was recorded by courthouse cameras staking out the building for 50 minutes. He was waiting for the target to exit a closed hearing. The legal reality. Thayer used his vehicle to lure the target into a situation where he could then claim harassment to the police. This is called abuse of process. The AI was never told about the 50-minute stakeout, it was only told about the police citation. A citation is a charge, not a conviction. The fact of the stakeout proves the premeditation of the defendant. The jurisdictional waiver, a lesson in consent. The AI argued that saying, "Sue me," doesn't grant jurisdiction. While technically true for general jurisdiction, it ignores the concept of specific jurisdiction and consent. The civics reality. If a person reaches into a state, Colorado, to commit a tort, harassment, stalking, and then publicly challenges the victim to sue them while admitting they are domestically located, they are establishing minimum contacts. The amateur argument. Jurisdiction is about residency only. The legal reality. Jurisdiction is about where the harm occurred. By participating in a digital swarm, targeting a Colorado resident, and then bragging about having the defense's Colorado-based evidence, Cheeky Monkey has tied themselves to the Larimer County venue. Their public invitation to be sued is a piece of evidence that a judge will use to determine willful participation in the enterprise. The Rule 8 inches trap, structure versus substance. The AI's obsession with Rule 8 inches, failure to state a claim, is the ultimate red herring. The civics reality. A dismissal under Rule 8 is often without prejudice, meaning the plaintiff can refile once the structural issues are corrected. The filtered version. The case was dismissed because there are no facts. The unfiltered record, affidavit number 10. The dismissal was a result of evidentiary suppression. The court ignored the sworn affidavits and video timestamps, creating a procedural failure that is the basis for an appeal. The analytical truth. The AI was told the case failed because it was idiotic. It was not told that the case failed because the presiding officials, like David Arrow, have a documented 4-year history of pattern and practice, affidavit number 8, that includes refusing to recuse themselves despite clear conflicts of interest. 8. Conclusion. The cost of a filtered education. The Cheeky Monkey response is the legal equivalent of a student trying to pass a history test by reading only the back cover of the book. The reality of the record. The evidence is self-authenticating. The defendants filmed themselves loading rip bullets and conducting drive-bys. The conspiracy is harmonized. The trolls admit to having the defense's evidence, proving they are part of the same enterprise. The administrative cover is documented. David Arrow's refusal to recuse in the face of these admissions provides the official act required for federal civil rights claims. By feeding a filtered narrative to an AI, the defendants have not debunked anything. They have simply confirmed that they are terrified of the actual record. If they had a diploma's worth of legal understanding, they would know that an AI's opinion on a filtered prompt is not admissible in court. The record is permanent. The 5,000-word buffer is backed by timestamps that do not lie. The Cheeky Monkey can play with AI all they want, but in a federal courtroom, the unfiltered reality of their own recorded actions will be the only thing that matters. Class is dismissed. The record is final.